Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is the second time that I'm making this video because the first time the video was shot in vertical format instead of horizontal. So I'm remaking this so it's easier to view on your television or computer. So we have my 2007 Mercedes CLS 550 behind me. It needs a paint correction. It needs some kind of machine work to the paint to get it looking right before a ceramic coating. It's not in the worst of condition. On camera, it's probably going to look pretty decent. But it's also not in the best of condition. The condition of this paint work is not acceptable to be putting a ceramic coating on. So we're going to be doing a little bit of machine work to, buff out the paint and make it look presentable for ceramic coating. Now, before we go in here and I put hands on and buffer to the paint, let's talk about the different things that I have around me and what we're going to be using. So the first thing that we're going to be talking about is going to be one of my best friends right here, the Rupes Mark III 21 millimeter. This is in reference to a 21 millimeter orbit of the backing plate. So it covers more surface area, provides a better cut. This is a fantastic machine. I love Rupes. There's a lot of great brands out there, such as Flex and Griots and quite a few others. So use whatever is your favorite whenever it comes to that. But this is what we're going to be using today. So that's the machine out of the way. Now, whenever we start talking about liquids and pads, there's hundreds of them out there. And it's kind of hard to decide which ones do you want to pick. So if you're a seasoned veteran, pick what you like and use it often. If you love what you have, stick with it. But if you're new to the industry and you're new to paint correcting, maybe I can help save you some money from buying 50 different products just to find that one or two that you like. So I have 10 years of experience this year in this industry, so hopefully my experience can help you guys out, and maybe you don't have to go through some of the hurdles I had to go through in learning this stuff. So again, I love Rupes. I love their pad system as well. So I got 3 Rupes pads here that are pretty much a staple in the business. They do color code their stuff as well. Now, I'm not really a fan of their polishes, but we'll get into that in a little bit. This pad right here is a blue wool coarse pad. So this is a very aggressive wool. It is going to cut out a lot of defects in the paintwork, but because this pad is so aggressive, it's going to leave behind a pretty deep haze or some marks that sometimes this foam pad can't cut out. Kind of depends on how soft this clear coat is. So generally speaking, with black paint, because that's what we're talking about today, I don't like to use this pad on black paint unless absolutely necessary. If the paint is trash, then yes. So, but this car does not need this blue pad, so we're going to put that off to the side. These 2 pads right here are basically my staple choices whenever it comes to doing a paint correction on black paint. This yellow wool pad is kind of like the perfect balance between providing enough cut, but also it has a very fine finish to it. But of course on black, you can't just leave it with that because there is going to be the slightest haze left on the paint. So you have to have a foam pad, which we're choosing the Rupes yellow pad, and we're going to go behind with the foam pad. So these are my pad choices here. Now that we have talked about the pads that we're going to be using, let's talk about the liquids that we have. So I've tried a lot of them in the industry, but I got 3 here that I want to share with you that I have had a great experience with. And I don't get any paid promotions or anything for showcasing these products. I'm just trying to help you guys with what I use and what works in my setting. So this is DIY Detail Gold Standard. A similar product to this is going to be Optimum Hyper Polish. But the DIY Detail product has a little bit of a stronger cut and a little bit of a better finish. So that's why I choose this product. Main things I like about this product, it is a polish, but it also has a very great cutting ability. So you can pair this with a wool pad, and it's going to provide a very, very nice cut. Pair it with a foam pad, and it's going to provide a very high gloss, high clarity finish. Another thing about this is it's one of the 2 products that I'm aware of that with Optimum Hyper Polish, being that they're sprayable polishes. So you spray them instead of taking and putting like a dime size, or I'm sorry, a pea size dot on the pad. So this is really good if you're training employees, because one trigger pull is one trigger pull. It's not a half pull or anything like that. One trigger pull for each time you go to put that pad on the paintwork. So that's how this product works. So it's really good for training employees. Versus if you have like one of these type of products where you say, hey, employee, please put 2, 3, or 4 pea-sized dots on your pad, spread it around and buff the paint. I've come back before and they got quarter-size dots on their pad, and it's counterintuitive of what they're trying to do. They're wasting product. They're wasting time on paint correction. They're not even working the product efficiently. So just here to say that this is a great product for employees to train them with. The other thing that I like is this product does not stain plastics, and that is very important. We see a lot of cars nowadays that have exterior plastic trimmings. This product will not stain it. So if you're tired of your old school paste or polish, or polish as in these type of liquids, then if you're tired of that, like staining the plastics, give this a try, or the hyper polish. And my favorite thing about this one is that it does not dust. Now you can make it dust. You can make any polish or compound dust, but if used properly, this polish does not dust. And that's very important to me, because where we are about to work on this car at is actually, it shares 2 other bays with other cars, where sometimes we do window tint and paint protection film in the same bay. Thanks to this product, no dust, no contamination in our film work. So enough about this product. So that product does have its limitations, because it also does not provide the strongest cut of products on the market. These 2 products here are my tried and true. You have Sonax Cut Max. They also have, I think, a Cut Max Plus or something along those lines. These 2 are among the strongest, hardest cutting compounds in the industry that I'm aware of. There might be 1 or 2 that cut a little bit harder, but this one is really good. This is a winner for me because 0 dust. It goes a long way. A little bit actually goes a very long way. Super great cut with a very, very, very good finish. And I have not had this stain trim either. So this is a great choice whenever I have to do a heavy cut on the car. Now, this one is Sonax EX0406. So for all of my guys out there that are using Perfect Finish, Sonax Perfect Finish on a dual action machine, please stop. Perfect Finish is not meant for the DA. Just because it works on a DA doesn't mean that you should be using it on that. Just because it fits doesn't mean you should put it in there, right? So with that said, why am I saying don't use Perfect Finish with a DA? Yes, it works, but that product is super oily. So if you've noticed, after you're finished like working the panel with Perfect Finish, it has a ton of oils left over in it, and it takes forever to wipe it clean. That's because Perfect Finish is meant for a rotary. 0406 is the equivalent of Perfect Finish, but it's meant for the DA. So switch over to this product if you love Perfect Finish and use this on your DA, and you're going to have an easier cleanup and less oiliness on the paintwork. I promise you that you're going to love this. Does not stain plastic, does not dust, and again, just like Cut Max, a little bit goes a long ways. Okay, guys, so now that we've talked about the different liquids and machines and pads and everything, let's go ahead and actually start buffing on the paint. So very first thing that is so important is whenever you start working on a car, you don't necessarily want to go in there with the strongest cutting pad and just cut through it and then come in here and then start buffing on it. You don't want to buff blindly is basically what I'm saying. So if you have a paint depth gauge, you need to measure and make sure that there's enough clear coat for you to play with. Outside of that, you also don't want, if it's soft clear coat and you hit it with this aggressive pad, you're probably going to have to do a 3 or 4 step paint correction to get out those defects because you're using too much cut. You're also, whenever you do that, every time we go in here and buff on the paint work, we are removing clear coat. There's only a finite amount of clear coat on the surface. So you want to go with the least aggressive method first and in a test spot and increase the aggressiveness as needed to get the results that you're trying to achieve. So usually my method is we're going to use these Sonax polishes here, or liquids here, for a reference. So if I'm coming on this car to do a test, I'm going to do the yellow pad with the yellow foam pad with the polishing liquid. If that does not give me the results that I want, you could take the cutting compound liquid and put it on the foam pad. You might not get the best final polish or jeweling result that you want. It will work. It will have an increased cut, but you might not get the high gloss clarity finish that you want. I hope that makes sense. So normally I don't take the cutting compound and put on the foam pad. So outside of this step here, if I need to go up from here, I introduce this yellow pad and I bring the polish over here. So I have a polish on the foam pad. And this is what I'm going to use on this car here behind me. Because again, the paint work is not in the worst of condition, but it's also not in the best of condition. So the main point to keep in mind whenever you're buffing black paint is don't be too aggressive, okay? Don't use too much cut or cutting compound. Don't use a super aggressive pad. Use a polishing liquid on a less aggressive like microfiber or wool pad, or use a polishing liquid on a foam pad. This is going to be a really killer combo. Because if I'm using a polish on the wool pad, I'm not doing a whole lot of cut. The pad is doing most of the work for me. And whenever I come over here with the polish on the yellow pad, it's going to remove those defects caused by this pad here. It's going to remove it super easy. So from here, if I need to bump it up in aggressiveness, that's whenever I would introduce my cutting compound on this on this wool pad. And hopefully you'll never have to encounter a vehicle where you're going to have to use your most aggressive cutting pad with your most aggressive cutting liquid. So hopefully you don't have to do that. So, but again, for black paint, I try to keep it in this family right here of these three items, these two pads and this one polish. So again, enough of me talking. Let's go ahead and just kind of see what's going on here. Based on the way the paint looks, I kind of feel like I would have to use this pad first around the whole car, but let's just see. Not just because we could have two identical 2007 Mercedes CLS 550s right here in the studio, but the paint on one might not be the same paint on the other as far as the hardness or the softness of the clear coat goes. So just because it works on one doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work on another. So that's why it's always good. Do your test spot. I'll do three real quick pea-sized dots here. Let's just do this spot right here and see what happens. So that was speed 1. I dotted my stuff around. Speed 1 to spread it, and now we're going to go up to speed 3, and we're going to do about 3 or 4 slower passes with this foam pad, and then we'll see what kind of results that we get. I lost count. It was at least 3. It might have been 4, but let's see what we have here. So we're going to take one of these nice plush towels, and we're just going to buff off the residue. And honestly, that looks really good. So I'll bring the camera in so you can kind of see what's going on here. So over here is the before. And we come over here and you see a lot of those defects are gone. Now, you'll still see a lot of these dimples and stuff. A lot of that is like rock chips and who knows what else has impacted the car. I mean, like we said, it's a 2007. It's got some age to it. But for 2007, that paint looks pretty good with just that foam pad. So I don't think that I'm going to need to come in here with a wool pad, but we'll do it anyway just for reference to see what one side will look like compared to the other. Let's just see if we can tell a difference. So let's switch to the yellow wool, and we're going to use our polishing liquid. We're just going to do 3 dots again. Now these pads are also primed. They've been used before. If they are brand new out of the pack, you might have to prime it. What I mean is you might have to add a little bit more liquid to come in here and rub all the fibers or even in the foam. Blow it out after that, and then add 1 or 2 dots, and then keep going from here. So let's come back in here and try this section. Same thing as before. Just dot it around to spread out the polish. We're going to go speed 1 to spread it, and then we're going to bump it up to speed 3. Okay, so that is a step with this pad here. We'll wipe this off. And honestly, the paint looks pretty good in comparison, but I think on camera it's going to pick up a haze. There are a few deeper scratches here. So what you would do in this case, if you have deeper scratches, this is when you can come in here with a stronger pad or bump up the aggressiveness of your liquid and just snipe those areas like that. Instead of me taking like a bazooka and just blasting this whole panel with a very aggressive pad, let's preserve as much clear coat as possible, do least aggressive methods first, and then as needed in certain areas or whole panel if need be, bump up the aggressiveness. So we'll do that just for reference. These are pretty deep scratches actually. So just a couple drops right here. And I'm only going to hit this section right here. Okay, so I'll just do that real quick. Now you'll see a little bit of dusting happen right here. That's because this pad is a used pad, and it's old residue left in there from one of the previous jobs. If this was a new pad, you wouldn't see this dust at all. So that's what that is. Can you see this on camera? Like this big hazy patch is showing pretty good. So, but the scratches that we had right here are gone. I don't see them no more. But this is what I mean. Now we have a deeper haze. So what I'm going to do, because experience tells me this is an aggressive pad for this paint. I'm going to go back, dial it back to my yellow wool. I can get the pad situated on here evenly. Add 2 dots of polish. We're going to do just maybe 2 really quick passes right here because we don't need to work it a lot. So you'll notice that my arm speed was a little bit faster on that. And there we go. So that's clear, has cleaned up a lot. Now, I don't know if it's translating on camera, but there's still a haze on the panel, but it's not as bad of a haze as it was. I'll bring the camera in just in case. So you see, there is a little bit of a haze, but it's nowhere near as bad as what it was a moment ago. And for reference, over here is where we polished it, so you'll see a little bit more clarity around the light versus you come over here and you see now it turns like a milky black. And you see all these really, really tight swirls. So trust the process. This is what you want. Because now we're going to go in here with our yellow foam pad. Just put 2 dots on here. Now let's do this whole panel right here. Okay, so now we should have a high gloss, very intense clarity shine. So a lot of the little dimples again is rocks and debris that flies up off the road, but this paint will put a smile on anybody's face. This looks really, really good. Let me bring it in a little bit. Okay guys, so that is how you do polishing or paint correction on a black car. Just a quick recap real quick. And my recommendation is don't cut too hard on the paint work. Use a mid-grade wool or microfiber pad that's not super aggressive with a polishing liquid. And then to clean up any marring left over from this pad, use a polishing pad with that same polishing liquid, and you will be impressed with the results. You'll get a great cut with a phenomenal finish that you're going to be proud of delivering to a customer, and the customer is also going to be extremely happy as well. The other things is you do not have to use these brand name of pads. Again, all of these pads are Rupes, and I have Sonax liquids here. You can use any brand's equivalent. Use what you like and use it often. But this is how I do it. And this method here is also very, very effective with GM black paint. So I hope that this information helps you guys. If you're watching this video and you have your own method for polishing or doing paint correction on black paint, please leave it down in the comments below. Let's share information with the industry and make it a better place. Let's help a lot of people that are coming in new and trying to learn this stuff. Let's help out a lot of us. Some people are old heads stuck in old ways that don't know about new technologies or new processes. So let's all help each other out and be positive. Leave it down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.